Yes, tell me when.
Ready to go.
Great. All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here and joining us for the Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation webinar series. I'm Danielle Ulrich, Assistant Professor of Plant Physiological Ecology at Montana State University in Bozeman. I'm a former Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation Board of Directors member who teamed up with Dr. Kara Nelson, who's at the University of Montana, to kickstart this webinar series. Kara couldn't make it today, but she has really spearheaded this webinar series and this effort. So a big thanks to Kara. The webinar series today is kicking off today for its third year, which is exciting. The series is hosted by the Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation, whose mission is to promote the conservation of whitebark pine ecosystems by supporting restoration, education, management, and research projects that enhance knowledge and stewardship of these valuable ecosystems. The foundation is supported by member donations, as it's a member-based organization composed of individuals and organizations who share a passion for the education and restoration of unique high mountain ecosystems. Membership is open to anyone, and your membership is open to anyone, and your donation directly supports our mission to advance the restoration of whitebark pine and other high elevation 5-needle white pine forests. So I'll put the link to become a member in the chat. For the webinar series, the full schedule of the webinar series is on the foundation website, and I'll put that in the chat as well. It will be the third Tuesday of the month from 12 to 1. And at the start of each webinar, there'll be a brief introduction about one of the foundation's initiatives by a Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation board member. So that's how we'll kind of kickstart each webinar. And this year, the webinar series is organized by a great team of graduate students who will be emceeing the series this year. They are Laurel Sindelwald, an ORISE Fellow, Enzo Martelli at the University of Montana, and Lou Deloisi at Montana State University. And with that, I'll pass it over to Laurel, who will introduce our speaker today.
Awesome. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, everyone, again for coming. So this is the first webinar of this year, of this season, but if you missed any of the previous installments in previous years, you can find recordings of the talks on our YouTube channel. So the link for that is in the chat here. That's an extra E. All right. So it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, ShiNaasha Pete, who is a restoration forester with the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, or CSKT. ShiNaasha is from the Navajo Nation, born Shawnee and Irish. And as she raises her 14-year-old son, she is also raising awareness and been helping to restore the Flathead Indian Reservation's whitebark pine species since 2014. After graduating with her BA in Forestry Fire Management from the Salish Kootenai College in 2019, ShiNaasha took the lead of the tribe's whitebark pine restoration program. Through her work, ShiNaasha has made CSKT Tribal Forestry the top lead whitebark pine restoration program in tribal forestry across the nation. ShiNaasha consistently collaborates with the U.S. Forest Service Bureau of Land Management and is now part of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Whitebark Pine Recovery Team. She is currently working on helping build a curriculum educating the youth about whitebark pine's cultural and environmental importance. Her goals are to continue strengthening her restoration program, helping other tribes implement whitebark pine restoration, to develop a student whitebark pine education camp, create new whitebark pine population and seed plantations, and help save whitebark pine habitats for the next several generations ahead. If anyone has any questions for ShiNaasha, please type them into the chat, or you can wait until the end and virtually raise your hand at the end of her talk so that Enzo can enable you to use your microphone. With that, I will go ahead and turn it over to ShiNaasha.
Good morning, hello, I'm ShiNaasha Pete. Welcome to my cave here. My office, my indoor office, not my outdoor. But welcome, thank you to the Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation for asking me to kick off the webinar for the season. Quite the honor, thank you. I'm excited to speak with you guys because you have me for the next hour. No, I'm just kidding. But But I can really sit here and I can talk to you guys about whitebark pine and have you enjoy it with me. But also, it's a good time for me to share also just what I have been thinking of and my goals and what I see for the future for whitebark pine. So if you have any questions, please save them for the last. But no, I'm nervous, so I'm gonna be a little rattled and excited, and I gotta remember to talk slow because I get so wound up when I talk about whitebark pine. But yeah, so let's kick this off here. But thank you guys though once again. So let me share my screen here. So and can you see my screen? All right. So are we good? Want to give me the thumbs up?
Yep.
Yeah, you can see my screen. So all right. So Yat hello, ShiNaasha Pete, Yinshiat, Dananishla, Shaninishla, to my Dishkizni, Pashishin, Shijetos, Ma, Royland Pete, Chedos, Masana, Buck, Karamoris, Dalhan, White Man. Hello, my name is ShiNaasha Pete. I'm born Eastern Shawnee. I'm Navajo from the Maidishkizni, the Coyote Pass clan. And my parents, my mom is Linda Pete, and my late father is Roy Pete, and my grandparents are Buck and the late Carol Morris. But first of all, I'd like to thank the Confederated Salish Kootenai tribes for having faith in me and having me out here working with their whitebark pine. It's a big honor, and I'm just here with the Forest Department and Forest Development and Salish Kootenai College, of course, where I obtained my forestry degree. And my list of many people, I have a scroll here that I could bring out. But first and foremost, I want to thank my son Edgar Pete. He's my reason of breathing and keeps me grounded as well with whitebark pine. But my my advisor from school, Rick Everett, and then Tony Inkashola Jr., Mike Durglow here at the here with CSKT. They've really led me to where I am here. Matt Ogden is my greenhouse manager. I wouldn't be able to accomplish the goals that I've been doing lately with whitebark pine without him really helping me pave the way. And then of course our forestry crew and our North Greenhouse crew. I always give a shout out to them because I wouldn't be able to do this without them there sowing and growing the greenhouse. I'm at the greenhouse working with it, and then our tree planters as well when they come out and help. I appreciate it a ton, for we are all in this together, working together to save whitebark pine. But the Wilderness Society, Five Needle Pine Group with the CCE, the Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation Society, and the Queens of Whitebark. And some of you might have heard I have a nickname of the Whitebark Witch, but it's been formed off of the Queens of Whitebark Pine here, which is Melissa Jenkins, Diana Tomback, and Diana Six. And I want to be the fourth queen, but I'm not quite there yet. So we joked around and we said I could be a witch, and hence the Whitebark Witch. But so if anybody was ever kind of curious about that, it's a question I usually get at the end. But and then of course my dad, the late Roy E. Pete, my old mentor Pat Hurley, Auntie Pat, she was amazing working with all the plants here at CSKT and at Salish Kootenai College. And then my grandma Carol Wade Morris, she's the one who really taught me all of my flowers and plants. And my grandpa was a logger, so learning the plants and trees with grandma was always the best time of my life. And of course, all the rest of my family and my friends who have to hear all of my crazy adventures and have to hear the crazy whitebark pine talk, and yeah, they probably know so much about whitebark pine and they're not even in a forestry field. But this is what is needed though, is for these type of everybody around needs to know the community education and whatnot for whitebark pine. And here I go again getting frenzied, but breathe with me please. But as we continue, so today I'm going to talk with you, future seedlings from today's ancestors, CSKT's Whitebark Pine Biocultural Restoration. I am the Whitebark Pine Restoration Program Manager here, the reforestation forester for the tribal forestry, and then I am on the National Whitebark Pine Recovery Team with the Fish and Wildlife. So, and Diana Tomback's on there, and many other of us great people in whitebark pine. I'm excited, sorry. But So I just wanted to talk with you first about my title and how I came up with this. And so our future seedlings from today's ancestors, we are looking to save whitebark pine. And we have to go out there and implement within our putting seeds out there in the future, and that is what our youth is today as well. And our ancestors are whitebark pine. They're a slow growing tree. They've the tree in the picture here has been carbon dated back 1,500 years. And to give you a little insight of that, with the history of our reservation here on the CSKT reservation, excuse me, just to give you an idea of how we are working with our ancestors and how they are here, and we are living with them through these trees. And that's why I have such a love and passion for trees and plants. And so that's just to kind of let you understand why I'm future seedlings are from today's ancestors. So to give you an overview of what my talk will be today, when I calm down here a little more, the beginning of our whitebark pine restoration, the current CSKT Forestry's methods for whitebark pine restoration, CSKT implements management plans to move beyond our current and future obstacles, and ecosystem management of whitebark pine, emphasizing the CSKT culture and today's youth and 7 generations ahead. So whitebark pine here on the Flathead Indian Reservation, to give you a broad a view of the age differences, the Hellgate Treaty was on March 8th, 1855. And we have so that's what I'm going to do my math really poor here. It's 100+ years that the reservation's been going, and whitebark pine can live up to 300, 400, 500 years we've seen. And so just to give you is something that I speak with when I go out with interns or with the people that I work in my techs. To work with whitebark pine, to tap into it, you are tapping into a whole nother world of what they have seen going through their time in history. And I always tell them, this is your reservation and this is your land. And when we go up there in these top peaks, and when we're in these old forest stands, and I tell them, I go, think about your people and your culture and your history and everything that you have gone through, because this is what these trees have seen. It's like, these trees know more about you than you can understand. And so it is important for us to emphasize culture and to tap into that timeline again of these trees, and to have that real respect. And I think it's the passion that also comes deep down from within those trees, and then it blossoms through us. But but that's how I always think when I'm out there with whitebark pine, and I'm out there with my ancestors. And so we have 256,757 acres of forest here on our 1.3 million acres. And we, the forestry here, we go ahead and manage this year round, and we have a small little group of us, but we get it done. And 105,000 acres of this is whitebark pine habitat. And I have 4 or 5 of us that get to go out and work whitebark pine. So we have still just hit a little dent of our area of what we really need to get out there and trek and break ground in. So that's what's even more exciting about this work with whitebark pine, is there's just so much more and much more opportunity out there for it. Whitebark pine is in a subalpine timberline series here on the reservation. It goes for about 5,000 to 8,000 feet in elevation. We have the habitat type with the subalpine, huckleberry, whitebark here, and then and the ablapai alvasque there at the bottom. And we like to play with the acronyms. I've never had to learn so many acronyms in my life until I came into the forestry field, and now we have all this the texting acronyms, and so if I get my acronyms wrong with my forestry acronyms, I'm just kidding. But it's a joke we have there. Learn your acronyms. But the beginning of our whitebark pine restoration. So when we got into this in 2016 with a collaborating group with the Forest Service, BLM, the Crown and Continent Ecosystem, the CCE, the Whitebark Pine Foundation, we got together and they helped us map our areas on the reservation here and collect the first batch of whitebark pines for testing into for the testing for white pine blister rust. But from the beginning, we got with Map Monsters, a company, local company. We got the areas all identified and mapped out on the reservation of whitebark pine habitat. And since 2019, working with working with tribal forestry, I've really been following these maps and these core areas that we've gone through and are scouting still consistently. And the mapping and the map, what I'm trying to say with this here, the mapping though is a big part that has started all of this and is always one of the, I think probably the challenging things, well, today with technology and that has come out of there, but to really get down there and ground truth is really, really important though, to not just rely on all like LiDAR and everything that's out there, because LiDAR can't detect blister rust. And actually, I don't know, but I haven't got to work with my LiDAR too much yet, because I'm out there ground truthing so much. So with CSKT Forestry and our methods for whitebark pine restoration, excuse me. So if I can, sorry here, I can't tell if I'm like watching myself on the screen here or if I'm reading off of my presentation. So, but if I can be lucky enough to get some interns that want to go hike around with my craziness on the top of the mountain peaks to find whitebark pine, there we go. Yes, please join me. But I can get some interns from the Salish Kootenai College here, and hopefully a goal is to try to tap into more of the universities to try to find some people to come in and help as well, just to get the collaboration working together with tribal nations, and then with Forest Service and BLM, just to get a whole collaboration working together. But to get out there with those younger people who are going to come into this field, that's very important. It's something that I would like to help them establish better more. So if I can, excuse me here. So here I have 2 interns. These guys are troopers with me, and they will come out and we would go and we trek through all of our areas, and we have a survey here. I use 123 survey if anybody wanted to know. I like it. It's simple. I can quickly put it onto our maps, onto the computer. And so if I haven't had too many problems with it, so I really enjoy using 123 survey. And we go through and we're hiking around. I trek when I'm surveying. I have a list of different things, of course, your regular tree survey data that you want to pull, your DBH, your aspect, and that. But what I really like to do, and I follow up really on my notes too when I'm going through, is the detailing. I look into the wildlife that's all around there. I always will put down if there's high activity for nutcrackers. If I hear squirrels out there, I'll put down in the notes if the tree has been damaged with another animal, a predator, you'd say. But I'll look around the ground. I really take a big inventory on my understory vegetation as well. I'm a firm believer in understory vegetation. It is a big an important part of the forest and the ecosystems and that balance. So within the survey though, we follow the disease, we follow the age. I'll take note if it's infected, if it's infected with blister rust or with pine beetle. And then every 2-3 years, depending on the severity, when I put in there as well, I will go and I'll go back and check these trees. Some of them are really along the ways of other places we're going, so it's sometimes just a quick jump out and say hello, and but take a good look over the tree again and see if there's anything more drastic that would happen. So through our process, though, of our methods, we have gone, and I have certified climbers, tribal climbers here with us. My one climber has been with us since the beginning, when they started climbing in 2017. And we have 5 climbers now, 6, 7. We have 7 certified climbers, but primarily I have 4 of them that are constantly with me for climbing every season. And we, of course, I'm a big firm believer on hard data. You always have to take the hard data. So many times I've come back on it. The tablet, I love the tablets and the technology, but I don't know if any of you guys have been out there and you're surveying and you're trying to get your tablet, and then you're like, oh my gosh, my battery's dying. It's stressful. So I'm a firm believer in hard data. But we have our climbers, we've gone out, we've scouted with our BAPs, we come into the spring, we cage them, and here on the far end, we've collected them. I like to sit down there and think I'm rich with all my cages and cones, and I'm telling my climbers, hurry up, get up. No, I'm just kidding, but but we have a lot of fun when we're out there, and sitting down on the bottom waiting for the cages to come can be it could be boring at times when you're sitting there waiting, but we have a good time, and sitting there, and I'll take count of all of my cages that are pulled out. I take count of all of the cages when we put them in the tree, and then make sure that we have the same account when we take them out. And typically I'll have the guys as well count the cones. So when I get my data, as you can see on the bag there, it says 88 cones. So that was the count of cones that we got per cage. And typically I'll put the cage number on there as well, but it's in my data as well. Cage 1, 5 cones, cage 2, 3 cones. And so I keep this data with every single tree every time we go out there and survey them, and the ones that we cage. And then this is the fun part. After we've collected our cones for the season, we have to let them dry out. We have a nice big drying room. Sometimes they've actually ended up sitting behind my desk, and it looks like I'm selling potatoes from all the burlap sacks that are piled up behind me. And it's a big joke about it here at the office. But this is like I said, this is the fun, relaxing part actually too. We take the cones, and once they're dried out, we can just easily twist them, and then they'll all just kind of fall out. And it's one of those things that you just constantly can do and just listen. And but it's quite the process. But once we have got all the cones out, we have broke all the cones apart, we have all the seeds there, and then from there it's the sifting process of cleaning it all out and getting all of the seeds. And then from there we have we go through the next, excuse me, let me take a drink of water. But here at CSKT, we have gone full circle in our restoration efforts. So from the scouting, from the mapping, the scouting, climbing, collecting, and then the cone process, we have great germination process. Matt Ogden is amazing. And he's so great to work with as well. But he has done really, really beautiful with our process for whitebark pine. With our seeds, and we have, as you see here, our little production lines of seeding that goes through. And one thing that's really cool, that I think is cool, but we're just all a tribal process here, all tribal workers. And I always, like I said, make sure that I share with all of our workers the importance of this tree and what we're doing and how it's tied to their culture and why it's important to their culture. And I'll go through my role in speech with them and tell them of just everything. And it's really cool to afterwards, because a lot of them are like, wow, I didn't know that. And they're like, that's really cool. And from there, it's actually really even cooler to see that these people then are actually out there taking care of it a little bit more. You'll see them out there pulling the weeds out, or just going and checking on it. And or even then after I tell them and they're going through the process, you could just see just a little more care that goes into it. And that's the one thing that I really try to push out there with our whitebark pine and our crews, and we're collecting in that. But here's our whitebark pine process. Those are all not whitebark pine, I'm sorry. But wow, I know. But I do have a greenhouse that is going to be coming 2024, and it's going to be holding, it's going to have the capability to hold 120,000 whitebark pine seedlings. So that's the big goal of accomplishment that we have coming up. And it will be very similar to like this right here. But this is one of our greenhouse infrastructures here with the CSKT Forestry. All together with our large infrastructures up north, we have two places. We have up north, we have our larger infrastructures like this that you're seeing, and then down south in the little town where our offices are held in Ronan, Montana. We have greenhouses outside of our offices here, but they are all more of our deciduous. We do it like we have like our poplars in there, and our aspen, and then from there we have all of our cultural plants. So it's really important to that's another part of down the line here when we start talking more and more, but cultural plants is a big thing that is coming out for restoration as well, with that TEK definitely, our biocultural restoration. But yeah, so here at CSKT, excuse me, our infrastructures, we can do over 1.2 million seedlings altogether, fully filled. And so we have and this aside from the whitebark pine greenhouses being built, we have larger infrastructures that will be coming in as well. So we hope to have large seedling base, be able to contract out more for the other tribal nations out there, First Nations and federal. We have contracts with the Forest Service and with BLM as well. So federally, we're looking at too. And but yeah, so this is one of our greenhouse infrastructures here, and we have awesome production every year with our conifers. And I like to come in here and hello everybody. I talk to my seedlings, and when everybody leaves, I'll let you guys know. But I like to throw on some powwow music, and I'll go out there and I'll dance for our seedlings, just to get my steps in. But no, it's just they need love too. Plants and trees take care of us, so we need to take care of them. But I always give them extra love. So, but yeah. So how are we implementing the restoration plan to move beyond our current and future obstacles? Here on the reservation, Flathead Indian Reservation, you see the lovely view we have here. This is from a top point called Boulder Creek. And Boulder Management Area was a big area of whitebark pine habitat that I have been surveying for the past 9-10 years. It's kind of one of my little sweet spots. But as you can see, the smoke in the picture, such a beautiful view. But unfortunately, we've had fires that be coming in to the higher elevations for in our forest here, but I think everywhere as well, just from the overstock of forest today. But this picture here, as you can see, this is our Mission Mountains. This is our beautiful view that we have here on the reservation. But the Mission Mountains front here is a good example of what our forest management plan. We're trying to recreate our fire regimes back to the pre-colonial time for settlement. And you can see here the top picture, the mountains look pretty rough. Somebody might say, they're really patchy. And my best example I give to kids is you ever see like a stray dog with mange? Or like when your sheep is like ready to be sheared and it's just like it looks bad, but actually that's a healthy forest. Not saying that the animals are healthy. I'm saying this forest, this mangy looking forest here, is a healthy forest. You have your fire regimes in there. You know that your fires are going to come through areas in the periodically in the right time, the adaptations, the infrastructure of the whole forest right there. You got less encroachment from the overstocks, from the fire suppression, less disease obviously in there, that creates more fuel for wildfires to come. And then climate change, of course, is the big gorilla on the back that's always weighing us down. But no, it's not today, because we got whitebark pine that's going to save it all. No, but you see below on the bottom picture there, this is the forest front of the Mission Mountains today. Actually, it's a little more stock, but maybe with the past fires we've had here, like the past 3-4 years in the higher elevations, it's starting to get back to that patchiness. But definitely this is our goal, to try to, in our forest management plans, is to recreate these fire regimes. And since whitebark pine is in that subalpine lethal fire regime, it's really, really important. They have to get the I got to go nag and tell them consistently about how important it is to really manage this whitebark pine, because with fire moving up into the higher elevations, encroachment of species, the overstock of beetle kill and blister rust, it's really important that we start to work more with prescribed fires up in the higher elevations. With the forestry, with the whitebark pine restoration plan, one of the management procedures in their treatments is for prescribed burning, spot firing. Spot fires, I won't have to do a whole broadcast burn in areas, unless if it's been a previous burn before, I could, but I would of course have to check for regeneration first. But the broadcast burns for me are just a little too iffy in that area, so I'd much rather do a spot piling burn. up in those bigger areas, daylighting, where I'm going to thin specifically around our white bark tree, or in a regeneration in a stand where there's a lot of regeneration. I'll put a perimeter around it of thinning, daylighting. Some areas I'll just thin out. I'll have a prescribed in there to have a thin throughout it, just to eliminate the competition, get some of the disease out of there that could come through. A pine beetle is one of the big things. So we'll put up the verbenon packs to prevent that as well. And this is a start for us. So the prescribed birding is tough for whitebark pine. We have such a small window here on the reservation. That's because we just have such a small team. So here on the reservation, CSKT has a great natural resources program. We have the wildlife fisheries program. We have the invasive species. They do a big thing with aquatics right now. For the Flathead Indian Reservation, sits on this amazing watershed. You seen the picture of the lake in there. Flathead Lake has the water, the way the watershed is. The way the watershed is for Flathead Lake, every 2 years is completely fresh water in it. And so that's why we have such crystal clear waters in the lake. And it's just because of our watershed. And this is just another big important reason why I'm hammering on whitebark, just so that we can keep our watershed the way it is. And when I go and talk to the youth, that's one thing I'll always really point out to you. You guys like to fish, you guys like this view, swimming. If we lose whitebark pine, you're not going to have it. It's all going to dry up. We're not going to, no, I'm just kidding. But but this is how I talk to the kids about this, and they love it, and they always remember it as well. But the prescribed burning, sorry, tangent back to prescribed burning. It's such a small window for us with whitebark pine. With our little crew, we have to be able to get up there once the snow melts. There's been times where I haven't even been able to get up into a stand of whitebark until the end of June. I've been kicked out of there as early as the end of September, just from the weather. But well, over the time though, I've adapted. So we have more equipment to get up into the higher elevation with more snow. I have 4-wheelers with snow tracks on them. I'll make you hoof in there with your snowshoes on. And we have sleds that I can go borrow from the timber sales and take them out with me at times too. So this is just the ability so that way we can cover more ground in the winter. But like I said, also we manage year round here. But the prescribed window burning is a really, really small window with the other prescribed burns that we have around on the reservation. But also we have the time window that we're fighting with fire. Fire season can really put a dent into the work for us because there's just so many little of us. I am the reforestation forester. I am red card certified. So if we get called out for fire because they need the help, forestry is the first ones to step up. And so we'll go out there and we fight fire. And the windows have been from June. Yeah, so like the end of June, sometimes all the way past September. But typically I'll fight till Labor Day, and then Labor Day I'm like, okay, I'm done. I gotta get work done. But this is just one of our obstacles that we have here with the forestry program, but also with the whitebark pine. Is this the time? Time is the enemy. I always say there's no such thing as time, but that's just because when I was late, that's my only excuse I had. No, but no, this is why I tease. A good thing whitebark pine grows slow, but no, that's not the excuse. But prescribed burning though is a tool that needs to really be brought back into fire or into the forest. We're seeing it more and more with a lot of people. Actually, the Forest Service lit a bunch of piles off the mountain the other day, and I was like, is that up top Boulder? Because I have a bunch of whitebark up in Boulder, and I lost whitebark up in Boulder in 2021 from fire and from fire mitigations. We lost whitebark pine, and I had plush trees in there, and they were all caged even, and then yeah, poof, they're gone. But I thought the piles up there, because they have piles in the lumber deck of whitebark pine that got cut during the mitigations and fire. And so with that, I was like, I gotta get those logs. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these big logs. Make a bench, make a table, definitely get the core samples and the data. But I can just see me having a collection of logs and hearing at work, what are you gonna do with those logs over there? But prescribed fires, though, big tool, needs to be used more. But culturally, we use fire for harvest. When we go in and collect, they use it for hunting. So fire and prescribed burning is a big important cultural aspect here for the CSKT that we emphasize. And as I mentioned before, fires are moving up into higher elevations. Oh, see the big mushroom there on the left? That's the boulder fire. We actually were on the other side of the lake, and yeah, we watched that burn and we cried. And what was a boulder fire? It's just like a stain on our heart. We had a timber sale that we were building up for for boulder. And we have Whitebark pine restoration management in the timber sale and everything. And we were waiting for our NEPA document to come back to get ready to move forward with it. And the day before the NEPA came back, boulder fire started. and it just boom, and you see it right there. Luckily I wasn't there the day when it actually blew up. If you look all the way to the right, the Crooks fire, that fire right there was up in a high elevation as well. It got into an area that I didn't get to scout yet, but I scouted with my eyeballs through my binoculars, and there was some whitebark pine up there that I really wanted to get to, but unfortunately the fire got to it first. So this was 2021. So last year and this year, even, we've had four different fires that have been up in higher elevations now that have been through whitebark pine habitat. But these are just examples here on the reservation. What's troubling and it's sad too about whitebark pine habitat up in those high elevations and with fire is when it comes to fire suppression, the most that we can do is just drop buckets on it. And so I'll sit there in tears and watch buckets go drop on tops of the mountain. And I sit there and think like, oh, what whitebark was up there that I didn't get to? Was the next avatar tree up there? That's what we always think of, and I think of, and I get teased too about ShiNaasha crying over in the corner because her whitebark pine's burning. But even teasing like that goes to show that yes, I love whitebark pine, and these guys are stuck with me and having to hear about it all the time. And but it's also my passion, and it's what has really moved me forward with this program here for the tribe. As I mentioned before, though, beetle kill is one of the biggest issues as well with the subalpine habitats, but with the whitebark pine and the lodgepole, it's the beetle kills are starting to move over into the whitebark pine. When we were going through our management and when I was scouting, one of the questions was, if we have a tree out there and it is severely infected with the white pine blister rust, then is that going to, should we cut it down? No, don't cut it down. There's always just the concern of it going to spread more blister rust. And so then there was the idea, someone asked, should we girdle it? Would we like to girdle it? And so I reached out as well, because if I have questions that I don't, that I can't answer, I will straight up tell you, I'm sorry, I do not, I do not know that answer. That's a good tip there. If you are going to go into the world of science, be able to have the ability to say you do not know, because that's what the science is about. But so I reached out to the professionals, the queens of whitebark, and I asked them also, what should you, is girdling a good thing? And no, absolutely not, because the beetle kill will actually take the tree out a lot quicker than girdling would. Once the beetle discovers that the tree is infected with the white pine blister rust, which is primarily killing off whitebark pine, the beetle is going to come through and it's going to be able to take it out quicker. But there's been some awesome breakthroughs about actually whitebark pine and beetle kill discoveries. I have a friend who actually came up and worked with us as an intern out of Montana State University here at the Salish Kootenai College. And he just finished up his doctorate and did a whole dissertation about the beetle kill and the resin ducts in white pine, or not in white pine, but excuse me, in whitebark pine. And the size of the resin ducts within it is what's going to be able to, what draws in and keeps away the mountain pine beetle from them. So that was a really cool experience that I got to help him with. He came up and he needed to pull all his samples from the whitebark pine, and it was the concern was it's gonna take all day, and we had to hurry up and get the phloem samples back because they need to keep cool. And we had I remember when I met up with them and I seen what trees they wanted, and I was like, oh, well, this will be really quick. We'll just take one loop like this and get it all. And we were done by noon. And it was a good experience. And to see his paper now and the work that he has done, and to think of, that all those trees that he pulled from, and it's crazy too, because some of those trees that he pulled from are actually ones that got lost in that boulder fire as well. So Boulder's the baby. It's a good experiment project up there, with the obstacles, with fire mitigations, with beetle kill, with the blister rust, with the climate change, species encroachment that's happening up there. And now it's going to go through replanting process that I'm going to implement up in there. And eventually another big goal would be to have a nursery up there, so that way we'd be able to acclimate our seedlings a lot better. So if we have a facility infrastructure up at the top of Boulder, that would be awesome. And I can just live in the mountains forever and never know. I could grow my beard and be and be a true lumberjack. I'm just kidding. All right, I'm getting silly and nervous here because I just looked at the time. So but these are just the complications that we are facing with whitebark pine. But as we go through our management practices of it, this is where I love to work with everybody about this, is how we are emphasizing the culture in all of this. My parents, they really they did a good job raising me, but my parents did a really good job emphasizing culture into us children, and my siblings and I believe we did, and they did. And just the growing up, I wasn't just exposed to one tribe. I grew up on the Wind River Reservation, so I got to learn the culture and the cultural ways of the Northern Arapaho and the Eastern Shoshone. We have lots of friends. We powwow on the powwow circuit and travel throughout all the different reservations across the Midwest. So and constantly doing that, making friends and families on that powwow trail we call. We're exposed to different tribes and the different cultures of it. And overall, we do have the one main spiritual belief of, we come from the earth, and so for which we're stewards of the earth. But to actually see how indigenous science within cultures all mix with science and things that you see today, it's really amazing and sometimes mind-blowing with it. And but it's good to recognize people who are tapping into the TEK, into that traditional knowledge. I know that there's a new word for it. They don't use the traditional ecological knowledge. There's a different acronym now for it. But with the CSKT culture programs here that they have on the reservation, they're really awesome, and how we are trying to implement it back into our ecosystem managements, like prescribed burning, for instance, I say, or using those I'm trying to think what the aquatics people do, but they're taking every part of these of our cultural plants within each of these areas. I know that I was going to say the aquatics, and they're doing a big thing with the riparian habitats and restoration over there. And we have a big wildlife program and grizzlies here, as you can see, and the bull trout down below. These are like the big big restoration projects that we're doing here on the reservation. We have on our Mission Mountains, we have a whole grizzly bear sanctuary, and I'm always really nervous to go over in that area to scout. Luckily, I haven't ran into a grizzly bear yet. I've had a couple black bears run into me, but and we both screamed and, you know, ran off, and no, we didn't, but we both kind of just stared at each other. I was like, oh, bear. But I think it's the spiders that probably get more people. I don't know if you've been hiking through the woods and all of a sudden you just crash into a big spider web, and I always just like, when I see one, I always just think of like a little million eyes screaming with me as I scream at it. But anyways, but this is the culture has a story with the spiders even, but cultural stories always tie back in with the earth, and then how we should actually be maintaining these areas as well. But with whitebark pine, the story and how it emphasizes around with our culture is they have this awesome character right here, the Clark's Nutcracker. And Diane Tomback, oh, she's so great. I just, every time I think of Clark's Nutcracker, I automatically think of Diane Tomback. But so the traditional story goes that one time, the creator, when he was assigning his duties, but there's a symbiotic relationship between animals and plants, and the earth, plants, trees. There's those ties everywhere with it. And in the story, when the creator was looking for somebody to look out for this tree, right? He's looking for the tree's partner here. But the Clark's Nutcracker volunteered himself. He's the one who's like, I'll take care of it. This tree is going to be with me. I'll be with this tree. And the story's, it's told in my way. I don't have the wording correct, but this is how the story is though formed. And the tree and the Clark's Nutcracker have had this symbiotic relationship forever. And Diane Tomback pioneered with her research. And to prove all of this, is the Clark's Nutcracker is the keystone seed dispersal species for whitebark pine. And he has done a very, very good job with his duty out here, constantly flying around, caching his seeds with his little pouch, this thing right here underneath. And when he stashes his seeds, but it can go over 100,000 seeds. And then remember where 90% of them are. But unfortunately, he can't get to all of them quick enough. And that is how the regeneration for whitebark pine starts. So he's the only one out there planting all these seeds. But now we are out here helping him. And he's done a very mighty good job. And our project with whitebark pine and helping it is to make sure that we pull our plush trees, which is a plush tree for whitebark pine is a mature tree that bears these cones and which produces the seeds. But a plush tree is a tree that's going to show this genetic signs of resistance against white pine blister rust. And unfortunately, I didn't have a picture up here, white pine blister rust. Geez. But it's this fungus. It's killing out the trees. But there is a little percentage of whitebark population out there that is left. And it is showing a genetic resistance against this blister rust. So our job when I'm out here scouting around with my crew, and as the other people that are doing working on the whitebark pine restoration, we're looking for these trees that are showing this genetic resistance, and we're collecting from them. And our goal is to find 100 of these trees within our region. Because if we can find 100 of these trees, of these whitebark pine trees, then that right there will be the ability, it'll give them, we are giving the support to the Clark's Nutcracker to continue to restore and regenerate the whitebark pine on its own, naturally, we would say, if we can find these 100 trees within our area. But we are on the way to it. I have full hope with it. We're out here helping these guys. It's the respect, once again, as I teach, when I talk with the kids as well, and when I'm working with people here that haven't got to work with me yet, it's the balance, it's that cultural balance, it's that spiritual balance that we're going to have as Native people, and connecting back with the earth. And by doing so, and it's things like this that we are going to help reestablish and restore our culture in different places, not just with Whitebark Pine and Clark's Nutcracker, but all of there's a lot of reservations out there that are doing restoration with their cultural plants and with their cultural animals, and it's just the tie back to that earth and to hone ourselves in, back to our indigenous roots, I could say. But it grounds us, and it's going to keep us and our culture continually thriving, and it's how we persevere as well, as like Whitebark Pine is. So, but the cultural significant plants, as I was saying, here on the reservation is just another way that CSKT Forestry and the natural resource departments are helping emphasize the culture around Whitebark Pine and huckleberry. Have a very close relationship, being up there in the same habitat together. I always kind of wonder, I think, what is, if there's something within the soils and huckleberries, that's going to help boost Whitebark Pine? And these are just the little type of questions I always had. When I started working with Whitebark Pine, I started on an internship, and I was actually my advisor, Rick Everett. He goes, what do you know about Whitebark Pine? And I have a good relationship with my old advisor, and I can be a smart aleck, and I'm like at the pine tree, top of the mountain, and he was just like, seriously. But he was referred by several teachers and students, though, to come talk to me to see what I was doing, because I have a good knowledge of plants, and I was able to identify our plants scientifically and common name as well. I can actually, it's funny now, I'm not working with it so much and being a practice a bit. I'll reel off like the common name, but can't remember the scientific name right off the bat. Or I'll remember the acronym, and then I have to like really think again what the scientific word is. But the cultural plants is a big part that we are starting to emphasize with Whitebark Pine as well. It's that symbiotic relationship again. So with the Whitebark Pine greenhouse that we are building, that is going to be coming, we also have a side to it with the cultural plants that we are helping as well. So we have the huckleberry up in the top, bitterroot in the bottom, and then of course our camas, our blue camas. All of these are tribal significant plants here to the CSKT people, and we all have different restoration projects that we are working on with it. And even here at the greenhouse in our nurseries, we are actually growing all of these as well. And we have little sprouts of the huckleberries, and the camas are super cute. And one day I walked out, and I walked outside, and just in the corner, and like in my peripheral vision, I just seen this huge square of bright pink. And I was, walking out, I was thinking like, oh, we get a shipment of ribbon in, some pink ribbon. But I looked over, and it was all of the bitterroot, and it was all bloomed out. And it was so cool. And of course they're in the tubes. And what was even cooler is for the bitterroot, they take the root of it, the bitterroot, but they use the root of it. And so when I pulled my Matt Ogden, the greenhouse manager, we were looking over there and all happy, and we pulled one of the bitter roots out of the tube, and it was just the perfect view of the root right there. And it was just like, it was so cute, and it had little arms too. And we were just like, oh, cute little guy, you're so cute, keep growing, put him back in there. And it was a cool, a bird came and laid its eggs over there in the bitterroot as well. But just little things like that. And what was so crazy too is that day when I went to go look at them, I was just once I discovered them, they were there. But then there was one day I was sitting there, and I was like, I did go look at the bitterroot. And I went over there and I looked at it and picked some weeds and everything. And they were still bloomed, just really pretty. And they kind of went to a little darker pink. And I sent a picture to my friend, and I was like, look at your guys' medicine. It's growing so well. And then she looked at it, and she's like, oh my goodness. She's like, did you know that today's the camas, or not the camas, but the bitterroot dig? And I didn't even know. And so here with the CSKT reservation, they, for their cultural activities and that, they continue to practice these things within the community. So they have a camas where they go dig all the camas bulbs, but they have a bitterroot dig where they go and they take the women and they go dig bitterroot up. And so just with that right there, you know, it's those little connections that we kind of ignore, I guess. Not even ignore, we're just too busy. And you know, those little intuitions though, and those little voices that we hear inside of us, they're really important to follow. And so she was like, oh, it's the bitterroot dig today. She's like, they must have been calling for you. And so that, like, hearing that, it was really good. And just like those little things right there, things and signs that I will look for. And if I see them and recognize them, I make sure to share them with everybody as well, and my workers, and that, just to let them know that, you know, we hone back into the, you know, our connection with our plants and trees and nature out there. So, but here at the CSKT Forestry, you know, we're big on collaboration. I'm big on collaboration. I wouldn't even be in this position I am right now if it wasn't for meeting great people like Diane Tomback and Melissa Jenkins, and having them rope me into this whitebark pine restoration. And this picture here, I think, is what it's really it's symbiotic, but I should get this blown up and put in my office. But what it is here is, this is our first planting of whitebark pine up in Liberty. Liberty fire was in 2017, and it burned through the primitive area of Jocko on the reservation. And it's a primitive area here on the reservation. They have primitive areas. So it's areas that are blocked off for people other than tribal members here. They have very high significant cultural locations up in there. From, you know, from the tribes, from the Salish and the Kootenai and the Ponderay, but the history that's up in these areas, in these primitive areas, and that, and where they're keeping their, you know, their animals and everything to a, you know, to the original state of what it is. We can't do management within these areas necessarily, like going in there and thinning and stuff. Like, we can't do too much. So when a fire comes through, it's sad, because when a fire comes through, we can go in there and we can work them. But with this Liberty fire here, it took out a drastic amount of whitebark pine habitat in there, but it's also where our first planting happened. And in this picture, we have the Forest Service here, and our tribal workers over here. And we had people coming out of the office that came up and planted, like I'm talking like old planters. We had a couple of them come up. Our greenhouse crew, they came out and they helped us. But then the U.S. Flathead National Forest, they came down with their crew and they helped us plant. And this was our first plantation. We did 1,900 seedlings, just a little over 1,900 seedlings. And the year after, they're sitting at a 90% survival rate. And then we just did a monitoring of them up there not too long ago, this year actually. And it was like at a 89 and 88, 89%. We only lost a couple. So I extended this plantation last year over on just a little bit over off on the left of it, on a more of a southwest facing aspect rather than this full south aspect like this one. And it didn't do too well. It was sitting at I think it was sitting at an 80% survival rate. We did lose some, but what we noticed though is the ones that we lost were they weren't planted too properly. They didn't have the micro-siting on the planting wasn't as well as some of the others. And so it just showed us, you know, we're learning as we go as well. Now planting really is a big part of it. This day when we planted though, it was a really good day. We were all excited for one. You know, it was sunny, it got hot, and then it rained and it snowed. We were all so muddy by the end of it. And the first whitebark pine was replanted on this day. And it's still a really beautiful sight, and the collaboration coming together with them and them getting to see, you know, how important it was for us in this high cultural area. It's something that's always really important to share that we do, we do work together. We do have a collaboration with other entities, and we are doing this ecosystem management together. So, and here we are. This is it right here. This is the first little whitebark pine that was grown. I always laugh and I say, why'd you guys pick the smallest little seedling that we had in the bunch? But yeah, Tony Kashola Jr. here, and I was about ready to say, I work with Ann Carlson and Carl Anderson. So, so I always when I'm ready to say them, but this is Carl Anderson from the Flathead National Forest Service, and then our department head at the time, Tony Kashola Jr. He is now the overall head of all natural resources. But here they are planting the first little whitebark pine on the reservation here. So this was a big day for us. And this little guy is actually still there and very, very healthy. But this just comes down to today's youth and our 7 generations. And this is where I'm really starting to focus though with our whitebark pine. As you see that I've shown through the sides, we have been implementing the plan, we've been restoring whitebark pine. We're out there, we're searching, we're collecting, we've gone through, we've had seeds tested through the Coeur d'Alene nursery, the Forest Service nursery over there. We've had them tested for the white pine blister rust. We have positive plush trees that are out there. We are still scouting. Like I said, it's been a journey just with the time that we've had, the time management with the many hats that we wear here on the reservation and for natural resources. But this is the big thing that I've been really pushing out there the most, though, is just our youth. I think constantly, my son, he's 15 now. You see him there at the very beginning with me. And I think, when I started this 10 years ago and then see him now, it's a big jump. And so when I worked with the Salish Kootenai College, this was a big thing was, they would always have me come and do different ecological classes or presentations or, talk about whitebark with all the youth. This one here is another one of the gatherings that the tribe does here. We do the river honoring. We have the Flathead River that comes through the reservation, and with the importance of the river honoring is it's like a natural resources fair, but it's primarily for 4th and 5th graders only. So they bring all the 4th graders one day from the surrounding schools, and then all of the 5th graders another day. But in this one here, I'm talking about the river and how this the ecological build of a river and the meander and how with erosion and everything, and just the importance of the watershed in the river. But if we lose whitebark pine up on the top, how it's going to affect it down below on the bottom. And the kids love to get in. It's a big sand table, and so the hands-on learning and it's a twofold process that I'm trying to really get out there with it. It's the whitebark pine and the ecology and restoration of it, and then it's the culture. And so I'm trying to combine the two for these youth out here. And so with it, I'm doing this classroom, the classroom delivery, the presentations, the talks. The one here where I'm standing with this tree, I look like I'm really getting after all these kids. I might have actually been no, but no, I was telling them here that this tree that I was standing with is only 25 years old. And it's still tiny compared to another tree that's that just showing them the difference between the trees that are outside and the growth and how slow growth that whitebark pine is. But so I go in and I talk with the students about it and let them have a real visual of it. I take cones that I have, we've have seeds taken in, but just really that hands-on activity. I was just I've been constantly thinking too, like, how can I get students involved? I constantly have teachers always reaching out to me, and my kids just want to plant trees. They really liked your presentation and they want to do more, but what can we do? And and it would be so great to take them to plant trees, but at the same time, I don't want kids with a big old hodad swinging over their head. Either that or like I'm bored. It's just like to keep that attention in kids today is the challenge, but you need to utilize it though and respect respect the kids and what they have gone through and just how much they have changed compared to what we have gone through when we were kids and how we were and how we learned. And so the communication with the two, I'm a tough love person and so we're working with these kids in that, and I work with them and I'll sit there and I'll really explain to them. If one has a question, you'll always kind of get the nonsense question, when are we gonna eat? And I'm like, never. And but no, and I'm just like, be patient, and then but there'll be other ones who ask really good questions as well. How is there a way that trees can get rid of the disease? That was one really good one. And when you actually tell them, no, there isn't, that's something that really hits them as well. But I'm a big firm believer in trees and plants take care of us. So it's time that we take care of them. And I tell them, and I tell everybody this consistently, but the biggest thing I tell youth is that trees are people too. We really are. So when I go out here and I'm looking for whitebark, right, I'll see an old one and it's beautiful. And I'll sit there and admire it. And then I'll look at it and then, it's sick. The tree is sick. And then I'll sit there and, you have to look around at your stand too and everything else. Is the tree sick or is it just his time? Maybe he's time because he's sick. He's getting up there. I think of our elders, and our elders and taking care of them. And sorry, but we did tear up thinking of my grandpa. But he asked me, why do you like to go out there? And I'm like, because they're people too. And I was like, and I'm just trying to help them. And we want to continue to survive. And so this is why I go out there. But this is why I'm telling this to these youth. Because here we are. We have pioneers like Diana and Melissa. And like Rob Keane, when he was here at his time. And all these people have put in such amazing work. And have been putting it out there. And then there's like our cohort, my age. And there's us who we've been reading these papers of these, of our mentors and these people that we look up to, the queens of whitebark. And then like I see them and I'm just like sometimes just so awestruck. I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I'm talking to Diane on the phone. Or it's amazing. And to think of our cohort now. So here we are, and we're following in these footsteps, and we're working it. We're putting it out there. We are continuing it. I see this next generation coming up below us, though, and there's these young students out there, and they're doing these research papers, and some of the things that they're discovering just off of the work that have been put out there already. It's mind blowing, and it's so encouraging. And so I see us cohorts coming up, and uneven aged cohorts, but I see us though, and I can't help but think, what's coming though? Like what's the future for whitebark pine? I'm constantly looking to the future, and so that's why I look 7 generations ahead. I am working for 7 generations. I know that I'm not going to see any of this that is being put out there and planted in my time. My son, I mean, if he has an interest in it, or whether he goes and does something else though in his career and his path that he chooses, he will know, though, that there's the legacy there that has been left with whitebark pine, that he's going to be able to have his great grandkids have this forest. They're going to be able to come out and do the same things that we do. Whoops. And I just went past my screen there, but I'll pop this back up really quick though, because this is the plantation that we did, their first plantation. And here's our seedlings at the top. And so with this picture here, and I look down below on the mountains, and those mountains have been protecting the people here and the culture and the tribes for so long, and then they've always had like whitebark pine up there too, to watch the history of it and the protection of it. So this whitebark pine is going to be here for the next 7 generations ahead. If we can do that and do proper management and treatments within our forests and, help whitebark pine out there and, make these resilient forests, that's true sustainability right there. 120 years, that's 7 generations, if you, to put a number on it. I'm looking at 120 years ahead. Edgar, that's my son, sorry. He better have kids. I can have great grandkids and great grandkids that'll be out there to see this whitebark pine. They're gonna have the forest. They're gonna have the ability to go for a hike. They're gonna have clean, fresh water. They're gonna be able to go hunt. They're gonna be able to go fishing. But more importantly is that the culture, though, is still gonna be here for this youth and for these people and for the tribes. Oh, I'm gonna cry. But this is the type of thing, and this is my passion of why I do this and for whitebark pine and why I'm trying to build this big program here for it. And the way, in my bio, I'm trying to build an internship camp. I'm looking into summer camps for the youth. I'm looking into internships. I have internships to come in and work for the greenhouse and to help with whitebark pine. High school internships is, I'm trying to focus in this age group that that middle school to high school. I want to build a career ladder internship for high school students. They're going to come. It's going to be a recruitment for forestry too as well, and for that whole field. It's not just out there measuring trees. Forestry is so huge, and whitebark pine is just is at the top because it's at the top of the mountain. But it's I tell them it's more than just hugging trees or cutting them down, as you say. But I explain out there just the wide variety that you can do within a forestry field. And if you come into this whitebark pine summer camp, with me, you're going to be learning these things. Not only are you going to learn, the hands-on experience with tools, collecting data, measurements, the tree identification. You're going to get a little bit of that wildlife knowledge in there, botany. You'll get your survival, your survival side of it in the woods and the wildlife. But mainly, you're going to get the cultural side of it. I'm gonna push it there, but not push it, but this is what I'm pushing at is this cultural aspect of it and the understanding that TEK, letting non-tribal members really understand, like, that whole stewardess of the earth and just that more connection with it, and let them see it or feel it even in some places that can happen. But with these youth and letting them see this and get that hands-on experience and just letting them learn it. And I don't want to say groom because I was groomed for whitebark pine in the college, but this is the youth we're talking about now. But to prepare them, to prepare the youth for a possibility to find, they might not know they like it until they get out there with it. And so these are the type of things I'm trying to put out there for them. Those opportunities, the career camp, they can come back every 4 years of their high school. And then if they decide to go to college and do forestry, they will have data that they had collected when they're in high school that they'll be able to utilize and to track through and monitor. I can't get over that. But they have all of it there, and they can monitor it when they're going to college, even if they were to go here at Salish Kootenai College, or if they were to go to the forestry program at University of Montana. But these are the type of things that are around here that I'm trying to hone into more. But with the tribe here, they do an excellent job as well with the youth culture camps, the camas digs. They have a hunting camp for boys. They have and just even with the natural resources here, they do a lot of outreach for Whisper Camel. Runs the wildlife department over there, and she's amazing. She does a lot of stuff, outreach with the wildlife and to the younger kids. And we have Eagles Camp here, and that stands for, I had to write this down too. It stands for Environmental Advocates for Global and Local Ecological Sustainability. But this is a program here that they have with the Climate Change Committee. Our tribe here has a climate change committee and a whole climate change plan at that. But these are just possibilities that are out here and opportunities that I want to put out there as well for Native youth, for non-Native youth as well. I would love to be able to, establish it for our tribal youth, definitely, but I would love to bring in, if I could bring in a couple non-native students so that way they can learn. It's a collaboration. Everybody needs to learn because we are all on one earth. We all are in the one forest together. It's not a segregated forest. I'm sorry to say. It was like COVID. I was like, trees don't get COVID. We got to work too. But it's like, it's not going to eliminate out anybody. And so these are the type of things though that I'm really emphasizing within our forestry program here. Even I have to talk to the guys, and but I have people reach out to me too. Do you want to go talk to these guys? And I've had to work with some older forestry guys, and it was funny. I mean, it was entertaining to watch them with the younger kids and then stepping up and then like, all right, you guys calm down. This is what's going on. But it's really just the way you engage yourself with the youth as well. I think it's really important that we start to look to that because we want 7 generations ahead. That's why we want future seedlings from today's ancestors. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sorry, was that Enzo or?
Is that the end? Yes. Sorry.
Oh,
Shalom. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. No.
No, I asked, I thought I heard someone else come on and I was asking if that was Enzo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't gonna chop you off that quick. So I'm trying to figure out where the rest of my screen went here, actually.
Oh, sorry.
So, yes, but any questions here? I am an open book. But I am trying to find where the screen went here, so.
Are you okay with folks emailing you with?
Yes,
if they think of
please, if
anything?
you have something detailed, or I mean, I should have posted my information up there. Yeah, more email me, give me a call. I am more than happy to answer questions. I am more than happy to come and speak. I am more than happy to, just teach you guys what I know culturally, with the work that we're doing and implementing. I'm a yapper, but this is the thing, is that this is how we got to get it out there though, is constantly engaging with our youth, with our communities, with people, with our researchers. It takes a village to raise a child, and Whitebark pine is our child. And it's really cool too. Like, one of the things I really admire too is that some of the top people that are in Whitebark pine restoration are women. And it's like what better way to rebirth to bring life back in, but it also has that little nurturing touch. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There are a lot of really lovely comments in the chat for you. If you want to read them, and if anyone has questions for ShiNaasha, we could. I know we're a little bit over on time, but if you've got any quick
did I meet my
questions-
45 minutes?
No,
all right.
no,
I
it's okay.
in that.
No worries. I think it's all good. I think folks stayed if they can, and they can watch the recording if they couldn't. So yeah, it's all good. So yeah, any quick questions from folks or?
Crickets. Yes.
No,
they're probably afraid to have me start talking again.
Oh, not at all.
I would be. I'd be like, oh, don't ask questions. No. So yeah, I'm glad I made the 45 minutes there. I was a little afraid. You could have pulled the hook on me too. That would have been fun.
No way. No way. That was a
Wow.
great presentation. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, unless there are any quick questions or there's one.
Oh.
So what practices do you use to reduce the spread of bark beetles?
The bark, so that's what the Verbanon packs are coming in with. So we so whether it's around a nice little healthy regeneration stand, I'll put them up around the plush trees that we have, or trees that are showing signs of beetle kill, but they're not like infected fully. So there's been trees where I've come and I can see where it's been attacked by beetles, but I can actually see where it has pushed sap out and where all of those beetles are, and it's still and the tree's really healthy. So those ones like that, I'm definitely, you know, I'm going to put a vermin pack around, but that's how we are preventing that. And then also another way for treatment management, though, for the forestry side is the thinning. You know, we really want to get out that dead just anything that those beetles would be attracted to within some areas of that. So that's when getting out that thinning and piling, and then get up there to hopefully get those piles burned. So then that way it's not just an infant stash, like just a buffet line, you can say, a smorgasbord. But so yeah, so that's just one of the treatments that we do for bark beetle. Yes, thank you guys. Yeah, entertaining for lunch entertainment. I can. I'm a character, so but I love what I do. So.
Do you have time for one more, or do you want to call?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, it looks like Eve asked, have you experimented with any direct sowing in the field?
Direct, I was just talking about this. So there's a gentleman up at the Big Sky, at the Yellowstone Club in Big Sky, Montana, at the ski resort. Jeffrey, I don't want to mispronounce his last name. His first name is Jeffrey though. But okay, anyways, but he has been they were actually transplanting whitebark pine. And so, and I was asking how that went, because I was like, wow, you know, because that's something I was always kind of questioning, but never had the guts to do, I guess. And so I asked them how that was, and we were talking about direct seeding though. And if this is something that would, I think it's really something that's been coming up, but I think one of the hardest things though for direct seeding for me, I guess I would say, is just I want to make sure that I have an amount of, like, an adequate amount of seed. So not just you know, we do contracts where people send in their seed to us and then we've grown it, but then for us to actually contract our own seed and seed that we get, you know, that's just the biggest obstacle, I think, right there, is just the seed, the amount of seed. But I would love to try it out and see. Definitely, that was one thing I was actually going to kind of bring up to our manager to see if it's something that he would be willing to do. And I guess it's more of my say to do it, but I wonder how it would be, and if I wanted to try it out too, you know, do I actually make sure I'm trying with seed that's directly from our plush trees? Or, you know, or do I do like a little experiment with just some of our regular seed that we've had that hasn't been tested yet thoroughly? So yeah, that's something. When I do it, I will take pictures and I will let you know. But it is something that has been brought up though several times. I've heard over the past few conferences and meetings that I've gone for whitebark pine.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those pictures.
Yeah, and I got lots of whitebark. My album name for his my photos is Whitebark Days. It's like DAYS. It's DAZE. Yeah, it's a big folder. But yeah, I have a buddy. So coming off of Boulder, the one picture that I showed of the lake and that the sunrise going down, I always take a picture of that, and he goes, aren't you get sick of that picture? He's like, how many pictures do you actually have of that? And I was like, I have been coming up to this spot and taking this drive for the past since 2014. And I go, with that there, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take this picture, this one same picture, and I'm gonna do a timeline across these years of it, and you're gonna see the same picture. And it's actually crazy because, like I said, the Boulder fire right there, so it's all different. But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to see the line of pictures.
Yeah, you'll have to we'll have to make a trip for you to come up and check it out. So
oh yeah, that would be amazing. So there's a comment from Sarah Goking before we close here, that I thought I'd feature. She said, thank you, ShiNaasha, for sharing your enthusiasm and excellent work, and also for validating that it is okay and even good to dance for our little trees.
Yes. That's my one rule too. When I go to like planters and everything, I was like, my number one rule, you cannot plant while you're upset. You have to be happy. Happy thoughts, happy trees. Yes, dance for them. They like it.
That's
They
great.
hear us. So.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
Well, everybody, our next webinar will be on November 21st with Stephen Heisman, presenting his work, projecting future whitebark pine susceptibility to white pine blister rust in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem and beyond. Thanks so much for speaking, ShiNaasha, and thanks everyone for attending. And I hope to see you again next month.